Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining us again. We're live. As you can see, we're not in the studio. The universe is testing the bounds of my patience today. But as we all know, the show always goes on. And we've got a great one in store for you. We're going to be talking about how this Chinese ball, the sphere of crime, is going to be out here crime fighting on China's behalf. This thing is a doozy. Also, we're learning that thermal receipt paper is showing to have poisonous properties worse than credit cards. And like just being handed the receipt fresh off the press is the problem. And you could be in danger just by getting your Macy's receipt after buying some clothes. And then we're going to be closing the episode out with how David Banner has some real wise words from the Club Shay Shay podcast, how the devil isn't real. You're the devil. That being said, we've got a full episode in store. I got to thank the Pickle Gallery joining us today. We got Ricky and Silent Destroyer, and Doug is here. I promise you, Doug is in the studio.
I am.
Doug is literally drunk and just hanging off the couch. He couldn't even bend over to like actually pick up the microphone. I
have no stand.
No, literally, I had everything transferred over from the studio into my living room. That's where we're at. And we should have had the different camera angles, everything, but I was a cord short. And so the video board, I forgot the power cord, left it at the studio. So I wish we could have clicked over and you could have seen Doug haphazardly, beer not even wavering, lean into his lap to talk to you in the microphone. That's the effort.
I'm not afraid to rethink, my friend.
You are. Oh, yeah, you are. That was extra effort coming from Doug. You know, let's just kick it off. Let's talk about China's balls. They're out here.
China.
What would I do without Doug? What would I do without him? China's got their balls, and they're out here prepared and ready to fight crime. So one of the stories that I've been intrigued to come across is how Chinese law enforcement agencies have been reported to have initiated tests of an autonomous spherical robot. The spherical RoboCop in use is named RTG, developed by homegrown robotics company Logan Technology. Engineered for extreme environments, RTG is capable of navigating both land and water at speeds of 22 miles per hour, 35 kilometers per hour, while withstanding impacts of up to 8,800 pounds or 4 tons. However, its most remarkable feature lies in its urban patrol capabilities. Powered by advanced AI, of course, the RTG assists law enforcement by identifying and immobilizing criminals and enhancing public safety. This thing is such a gnarly sight. I mean, look at it. Taking on all the different terrains. What do you got for me, Doug?
So you mentioned it's able to like stop the person. Does it shoot a web or taser or something?
It's got webs. So here, I'll keep it up so you can view this a little bit too, Doug. But yeah, it shoots webs. Really, you just can't stop a ball. Take these scenes and let them show you. There's the web.
So it does shoot like a net.
Again, just imagine we are used to the Black Mirror episode where the dog chases the person, like that robot dog, and like, you know, it's unbeatable because it's a robot. All of our fantastical imaginations of like the Terminator that hunts you down, like that robot dog.
Oh, there's a robot dog.
Always been like a robot, at least with appendages. Never once did we think we'd be dominated by balls. And that's where we're at. China is bringing us to the future.
How much does it weigh? Does that say? Because if it runs you over, is it going to like you think about it, if it's real heavy, just running it, you getting run over by that's going to stop you too.
Dude, I'm looking at this thing and it's like, you aren't stopping this.
Oh, they broke a bat on it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I don't know. Ricky, Silent, what do you guys think of this?
Hey, I don't believe none of these tests until it takes on a Florida man, someone high on the Heisenberg, Someone on that,
Heisenberg.
someone on the bath,
Science, bitch.
and someone in the hood really trying to get away. Until those balls go up against that test, it looks cool though. It looks cool.
Okay, yeah, I'm just
I
gonna
like
point
it. It
out,
looks awesome.
Ricky, you
Looks
bring up a
awesome
good
as fuck.
point. You mentioned like neighborhoods, urban, like they're showing this on all flat surfaces or wooden paths. Like,
I don't know, Doug.
how's it gonna go? Okay, and it could go.
come out of the ocean.
Okay, cool. It could go through water.
Loch Monster.
How's it gonna run up or upstairs to catch someone? You know what I mean?
don't think this thing's being stopped by stairs.
Yeah. So
personally,
they haven't shown it going up any stairs. In this whole video,
Okay.
there's no stairs. It's always a flat surface.
what would we do without Doug? What do you think of this?
Yeah, this is kind of weird. I don't know why you would make a robot ball. Like it makes no sense to me, but at the same time, like I don't understand. Like I guess this is more of an intimidation tactic more so than actual practical because like look at this city, like notice how it's like uneven surfaces, there's stairs, there's ramps, there's especially like in North America or I don't know if they have like old roads with potholes. Like how is this going to handle a pot? I don't know. It kind of seems like these robots are built to handle the tests that they put them through and not so much a real world scenario because this is probably just a prototype and not a final polished product that police forces can buy. And as Doug said, until they actually put this to a test, and as what Ricky said, until this faces the Florida man, then yeah, I'm not buying this. This is just probably a test where they have the specific guardrails and they've programmed this robot to do a very specific thing over and over again, and it's just done it with flying colors. So I'm a little bit skeptical about this whole thing.
So, you know what? I can appreciate the skepticism but here's the truth. The future of our anticipated RoboCop is inevitable. Look, Silent can be skeptical of a ball all he wants. That could be as comical as we want. But robots patrolling on the part of the state is inevitable. What, Doug?
Well, you mentioned RoboCop, man. RoboCop was at least a human. He was a cyborg. He was a human augmented with technology. That's still different than having 100% AI out there, man. All right? Just throwing that out there. You can't quote sci-fi around me and not get it right.
Man, science fiction. Man, I will be sure to not tread fiction lightly around you, Doug. But in the world of reality and fact is where I like to remain, and there I continue. So, keeping along the science and technology that surrounds this AI patrol sphere, last month, Logan Technology unveiled their versatile autonomous robot. A promotional video showcased this RTG navigating challenging terrains such as mud and water, demonstrating its resilience. However, its most striking feature is its role as an urban patrol assistant. Equipped with sophisticated AI, the robot can identify and immobilize criminals, offering a glimpse into its potential as a game changer for public safety. Okay, that's one way to pose it. But at the other side, at the other side of the coin is you are heavily reliant on the person that is calibrating and creating the algorithm at which the AI is operating off of. When it will roam urban environments looking for crime and immobilizing criminals, who's to determine what that immobilized criminal is? What if it's saying things they don't like? I would say, a whole fleet of these rolling into, I'll just say any protest would probably be a scary thing. That wouldn't be good. So, maybe if the government just doesn't like your message. Anyway, initially perceived by some as a marketing gimmick, the RTG has swiftly moved from concept to reality. Within 2 months of its unveiling, these robotic patrol units have been spotted on city streets working alongside human officers. This development highlights the growing integration of robotics in law enforcement, blending technology with traditional policing methods to enhance safety and efficiency. I mean, just in the small corners of us in Ohio, over in Garfield, dude, they've got a fleet of trained officers that are running drones across Garfield. That's just the future of our reality. Now, footage reveals the autonomous spherical robot patrolling city streets, utilizing advanced AI to detect and respond to criminal activity. Developed by Logan Technology, the RTG is designed for versatility, operating on land and water while withstanding impacts of up to 4 tons. And so you were wondering how much this weighs, about 125 kilograms. And it could get, again, up to 22 miles an hour. I mean, that really isn't.
275 pounds.
That's pretty heavy, dude.
Yeah.
That's a heavy duty tank. And, you know, I don't think 22 miles per hour is that fast, but it definitely ain't slow.
200 pounds, though.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be moving faster than you and I are running. So it's going to catch up to us. So its AI capabilities include facial recognition to identify known criminals and detect disturbances. It can alert law enforcement or autonomously immobilize suspects using a built-in net gun. Again, who's determining? That's the Judge Dredd dialogue here, where a ball is rolling up and determining who's the perpetrator, putting them in a net like it's a Bugs Bunny cartoon, and then waiting for the actual law enforcement to show up and humble the situation. So going back to, as I close here, just looking at the videos, video shows the robotic chasing suspects, knocking them down, and collaborating with human officers during patrols. So there's a major question of the versatility. The development of models like the RTG aligns with China's broader push to integrate robotics into law enforcement. Previous investments include robotic dogs, which we have discussed and I think is really going to be the future danger, equipped with wheels, so navigating steep slopes and performing stunts. The Lynx is developed by Deep Robotics, which demonstrates an exceptional mobility, switching between wheels and traditional quad modes, climbing stairs and overcoming obstacles. So one of the things that you got to keep in mind is this is just the beginning of like a very real practice. All right, it's detecting, objects, moving objects to go around. Okay, so is it safe to say, based on like silent, at least, that the consensus is we don't really see the ball becoming a common cop or officer? What do you think, Ricky?
Well, in riots, yes, it can be very effective because in front of the cops, in front of the field, it's just a line of balls, cops are sealed behind it, and they going in. It's very effective. I can see be very effective there. You walking around, and they can someone can go up to it and press it, and cops come to that area. I guess I don't think. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, okay, whether it's these robotic dogs or a fleet of roaming balls, one thing we all have to agree upon is that there is a huge incentive, authoritatively, militarily, to have autonomous soldiers. Like, if you could have a fleet of balls that even if it takes 5 Doug whacks with a bat, right? Like, it breaks the first bat, but the 5th bat breaks the ball. Guess what? Guess how many humans you've lost? 0. And at some point, you did compromise the Doug. Like, they will put all the money into having a fleet of these and never having to lose a life. I mean, you could just keep ripping these out.
Especially, too, because the article said, they can be equipped with, tear gas or sound dispersal devices. They can load it up with different stuff too, stun grenades, like it said, so it can they could have all these different ones doing different things based on what it needs to do. It's pretty crazy.
Well, so let me ask, I don't know how much maybe the audience or you guys in the Pickle Gallery, Doug, have you guys seen the Black Mirror episode I'm talking about with the dog? Yeah. So it's literally this dog becomes Judge Dredd, just judge, jury, and executioner.
Judge Dredd.
Yes, Judge Dredd. Thank you, Doug. And
sci-fi.
Science fiction. And it literally can't kill it. And it chases this lady down for the entire, episode. And at the end of the climax, the message, the takeaway is run as hard and work as hard as you want to try to get away. You're Brad Richardson also says cheers, Doug, by the way. But no matter how hard you try, it's still going to end with a big L. So I don't know. I fear what this means. Right now, it's a cute ball, but it can be anything. And guess what? Just as much as they'll invest in, like, let's go back to that first frame where they're walking, like, it'll be, balls. It'll be the dog. Look at, they even got the dog in there.
One human in a row of balls. That's what it's going to evolve to. One human there to do the paperwork, and the rest of the balls will be the ones doing all the work.
Just as much as we have small drones and other, moderate-sized fighting equipment, just wait until they have the tank version of these. Like, it starts here, but it doesn't end here. And, like, the police robot equipment are only going to get bigger, more sophisticated. Don't take the facial recognition elements lightly. It's going to be that. First, you have the social credit score. Then you need to enforce the social credit score. And you're going to need an entire George Orwellian police state that can identify, it doesn't matter, fingerprints or how racist it is to get an ID card. They'll know who you are, and they'll be able to dictate your entire existence. And if you don't listen, the ball's coming. There really isn't much more to unpack beyond grab your popcorn and wait for the hellscape to fall in your lap. So with that being said, I want to kind of get an idea of your guys' rapping thoughts. Silent, what do you think?
Yeah, this is just seems like a fun little prototype. I honestly can't take this seriously. But that, again, as we said, does not mean that the police are not going to use robots and more like, robotic like things like AI to start making their policing a little bit easier for themselves. And to also, intimidate people, because this ball would maybe more so work as an intimidating device, more so much as something that's actually being used practically. So I'm sure it has its use cases, but what this signals to me is that eventually almost all police departments across the entire world are going to use some sort of robotic technology. I mean, some of them already are, right? Like, we all know the SWAT, the little SWAT dog, right, that comes in and like diffuses the bombs and things like that. So that's already been used, and now it's just a matter of when they're going to use it, not if they're going to use it, really.
Well, and let me ask you, we agree it's happening.
Yeah.
How long do you think? Like, I'm just to get an idea, like, to ground us, like, do you think it's a decade away, 2 decades away?
I would say at least a decade, because these things are probably still very expensive, and building them is probably not cheap, and engineering them and mass manufacturing them will take some time. But once these things become accessible and become, the economies of scale start kicking in, and these companies that make these robots can make like 10,000 of them every day or something like that, that's when police departments will probably just buy the $5,000 robot versus hiring someone and paying them $120,000 or $50,000 or however much it is for an average police officer that's out there in the field. Their starting salary would probably have to be like 2-3 times what that robot costs right now, or it's probably about the same. But until the cost of that robot, of the cost of running it, maintaining it, and operating it becomes way cheaper than the cost of the actual human officer, I don't think most police departments will probably not look at this. But then once the cross section of the graph happens to where they're building so much of these and there's so many companies doing them, and they become easy to maintain, cheap, and easy to operate and run, that's when they're going to replace actual police officers. And like I said, it's not a matter of like if, it's a matter of when. Like, it's going to happen. We just don't really know. And I predict in the next decade for sure.
Wow. All right. That means I'm coming to you, Ricky. What are you thinking of this whole deal?
Silent nail it on the head on the coffin, man. It's gonna happen soon, but it's just not there yet. When it's start mass producing, it's over with. Like, Silent just wrapped it up. Like, I don't know any other way to say it. Yeah, just test it in the hood or in some Florida man and
test it
get
in the
them
hood.
the Heisenberg.
You heard it here first. You know what? I guess there's some truth to that. Survive the hood, you could survive.
I'm just saying, I could outrun that in my prime. I could have outrun that. I feel like
Ricky could.
we,
But also, Ricky was like the fastest person in our school.
no, but that is long shot. But I think most of people I know, I think can outrun that. If we jump over a wall, we gone. Like, get back up, bro.
I will say, I think a chain link fence ends the ball.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah.
But again, dude, those robot dogs.
The robot dogs, though, that's another story. Yeah, the robot dogs, that's another story.
That's why I think this is like the fun little gimmick. Like, look over here, make jokes about the balls. You know, we've got a spear. Forget about the dog. Like, you know, I don't know if you guys have seen the new amusement park being built at, or that was just recently built at Universal Studios in Orlando, and it's like multiple different parks in one, and they have How to Train My Dragon or whatever, your dragon or whatever. And they have two like baby versions of like two baby dragons that come walking out, and they have latex suits over those robotic dogs. So they're like really incredible animatronics, and dude, the way they move, very, very lifelike. I think, and when they officially first rolled out, the whole internet was like, "Oh my God, that Black Mirror episode is here! That like the thing that's going to take us over and kill us that we can't stop." And I implore anybody that hasn't seen it, see it, just so you can have that little bit of seated just doubt and fear in the back. Just like, you know, you got to be careful. Don't be too committed and confident with this, because one thing that was clear from the Pickle Gallery, this is here, and we're going to be seeing it within a decade, if not, I think you might even see it sooner. This thing is happening so lightning fast. Like AI, it was like ChatGPT was created, and then almost instantly it was integrated into everybody's daily routine. Like there really isn't anybody, you know, like I get shocked when it's like, wait, you, the boomer, you're using it? Like blown away by the number of people that have already integrated it on a minor level, let alone the major network within our society.
Well, Alex, don't you use like the Face ID for your phone?
Sure.
Well, that's facial recognition and stuff.
But no, the point I'm currently on is just like the artificial intelligence, and it's at full integration. And so I think that you make a comical gimmick like the sphere, because everybody was like forewarned about these dogs, to the point where when an amusement park rolls out just like a fun caricature, the whole world's like, oh my God, our hellscape that we predicted is here. So I think it's like, roll out a couple balls. Let them talk about the balls for a minute. Forget about the dogs, because that's really the nightmare you got to be worried about. You know, God bless Brad Richardson, but like he was like, oh no, not the doggo. Yeah, dude. Oh no, not the doggo. The doggo, I think, is truly worrisome. And right now, a local police department can afford 1, 2, or 3 of them. Mm-hmm. Wait until they have as many cop dogs as they do cop cars. Then it's like, oh, dog, you got a problem. That thing hops out of the back of like, you know, one of their SUVs. They pull up on site, and this not a dog, not a canine. This thing hops out, brother. We're cooked. Let me throw it to Dougie. Doug, you got any wrapping thoughts?
I mean, they say they're only putting those nets and stun guns and stuff in those balls now. Wait till they like start arming them, and they have an army of them rolling down the freaking streets of whatever area they want to invade. That'll be freaky.
Just wait. I'm not going to say any country names, no country names. But just wait until those happy-go-lucky, totally not hating, totally caring, loving people in the Middle East. Wait until they just, instead of an iron curtain, just have iron balls paid for by the Americans that they can roll out.
Roll out.
What a lovely reality we live in. Well, closing out that topic, we move on to our next one, which I hope grabs your attention, because it did mine and should be alarming. We need to be aware of these things so we can start avoiding them. It's amazing to me, like, My mom refuses to accept when I start talking about like, Mom, we got to get rid of plastic Tupperware containers. You got to get rid of plastic plates. You got to get rid of plastic cups. Everything's plastic, damn it. And yeah, at first we kept them and we liked them because it's got Chief Wahoo on it. I brought it home from an Indians game. Well, guess what? The gimmick is now you've got a whole cupboard full of plastic everything. And it's become more of an effort to phase those things out. And, it's more work, more cleaning, more all this, then the other thing to have glass plates or, what's the clay, whatever. Ceramic. Thank you. You try to avoid these dangerous things as we're learning. The average person is consuming like a credit card's worth of plastic a week. Well, guess what we're learning? You know what's worse than the plastic you're consuming? The receipt you're getting handed to you after every purchase. So those thermal receipts have a problem with the ink after they're heated. They're severely harmful beyond that of your regular plastic Tupperware and silverware because there is a presence of bisphenol, B-I-S-P-H-E-N-O, like bisphenol chemicals, particularly BPA, bisphenol A, and BPS, bisphenol S, which are used to heat sensitive coatings on the paper. So what's the concern here? The thermal paper doesn't use ink. Instead, it has a chemical coating, often BPA or BPS, that react to the heat, which create an image. BPA is an endocrine disruptor, meaning it can interfere with hormone systems, even at a low exposure level. So you got to be aware of these exposure risks. Absorption through skin when you handle receipts, especially for prolonged periods or repeatedly like cashiers. BPA or BPS can be absorbed through your skin. Transfer to food or mouth is also a problem. Once you touch a receipt and then you go to start eating, or you touch your face or your mouth, that will only increase your exposure. Using hand sanitizer before touching receipts can increase absorption significantly. Some studies suggest it enhances BPA absorption by almost 100 times. Health effects from these BPA studies are showing it brings about hormone disruption, reproductive issues, potential links to cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. There's also developmental effects in children and fetuses. One thing that we need to be aware of is that BPS is not necessarily safer, even though that seems to be the selling point. Many receipts now use BPS as a BPA alternative. However, BPS is also an endocrine disruptor, and some research suggests it may be equally or more toxic. So we got to be conscious of these issues so we could try to work to reducing our risk here. How do we do that? Minimize handling these receipts. Don't let children play with receipts. Avoid using hand sanitizer or lotion before or after touching receipts. Opt for digital receipts when possible. Wash hands after handling them. And for businesses, request phenol-free thermal paper. If you're regularly exposed, like in retail, wearing gloves or using digital point-of-sale systems can help limit contact. When I tell you we need to be alarmed at something so nominal and like part of your daily routine, and they say, don't let children play with receipts. Receipts! This isn't cigarettes. Like, hey, stop letting your 8-year-old smoke. It's the 60s. It's not the 50s anymore. It's like, no, dude, we're talking about receipts now. Like, what else is doing this to us?
Dude, I'm a firm believer that everything is just killing us.
Yep.
Plastic in the water, killing us. The little cell phone microwaving our privates in our pockets all day, every day, killing us. The food I'm microwaving, killing us. The food I'm buying from fast food, killing us. The air I'm breathing because of nuclear whatever and whatever you people want to say. Supposedly, everything is apparently killing us. I drive a gas car. Apparently, I'm killing us. You know? Everything is apparently killing us now. I don't even care anymore. Live your life.
Let me die already.
Yeah, just live your life. If everything is really this bad, I don't even want to be alive.
I mean, as morbid as it is, there's some strands of truth there. Let me throw it to the Pickle Gallery before us in this room just drive off a bridge. Can you guys give us your opinions on the whole?
Any positives?
You got any positives as well?
My manager 3 years ago told me about this, and I stopped touching receipts. He was young. He was
this?
Yes.
And you've just
3
been
years
letting
ago.
us out here dying?
If you'd have told me, I would have took a picture of our register because we don't hand the customer's receipt anymore. We turn it to them. So it just spits out right to them so they grab it. Just because he started this 3 years ago.
You're just like,
Hey, they have the option to text it, email, or no receipt. We have a life. We have free will.
That option.
And we have
that option.
Make the decision. I just don't take receipt. Everything is on your phone.
Yep, exactly. I haven't touched a receipt like for years now because I pay with everything through the phone. Or if I have my credit card, I just pull out my credit card and pay it on the credit card.
here's
And
what doesn't help. Learning about this at 31 years old. Like, do you know how many receipts? You know what's crazy is, I go back to the old days thinking about when I'm like 14. So I'm like beginning of high school, end of middle school. Got to a point where I'd be going to the movies, whatever, with my friends. And instead of giving me $20, it was just easier for my parents to give me a credit card. But the rule was the second I didn't have receipts for the credit card, I lost it. So I had to like itemize everything. So nothing could fall through the cracks. And like my dad was pretty strict with it. So my dad is an OCD engineer. So like I've been raised in a world where, like, full transparency, my dad has a tumor. He's going to be having brain surgery in 2 weeks. How do we not know? It's just because he's been licking receipts for 50 years. Like, my dad has been hyper obsessed with receipts. My family has a shopping center. He's been doing receipts for the whole shopping center. He helps my uncle with his receipts. When I tell you my father has been backstroking in receipts like Scrooge McDuck, and I'm learning about it now? Like, my dad is how old? And he's just been like, oh my God, it's just paper. It's just paper. And Ricky's like, for 3 years, we've been just letting you guys dose yourself.
And the reason I took listen because it lowered your testosterone. Once he said that, I was like, oh yeah, it's worse for men than women.
Screw you, Ricky. Now I'm really mad at you for not telling us. You're telling what?
One of Joe Rogan's favorite guests. One of Joe Rogan's favorite guests told us, Dr. Rodna Patrick. She told us, like, avoid receipt. Like, it's bad for man. It lowers your testosterone, all that stuff. Like, anytime she's on, she hasn't been on in a while, I listen, bro, because anything, like, she hasn't said one bad thing I heard.
You know what? Am I allowed to sidetrack us? I know this isn't the podcast, so we kind of try to keep strict to the topics. But do you guys mind if I go down just a mild rabbit hole for a second? So there was this thing that had come up recently and on our Twitter. So, us at the Rethink Tank have been really popping off on our Twitter recently. And there was this exchange I got into with a guy on Twitter, which again means nothing because these people are all bots and psychos. But there is a major delusion going on, specifically around Joe Rogan. All right, so the meme was the interview America needs right now, and it's Joe Rogan interviewing Thomas Massey. And my response was, nah, Theo did it for us already, and he isn't compromised by the three-letter agencies. So this guy responded, anyone that thinks Rogan is compromised is suffering from some kind of Rogan derangement syndrome. He has on left, right, and middle politicians. He has on historians, biologists, and media personalities. His list is the gambit and unedited. So then I responded, And you clearly haven't been listening to him long enough to see how he has changed. He sells that same message that he always has. But go listen to a podcast from 2018 and catch the level of self-censorship and the major shift away from real taboo topics today. And he goes, tell me this isn't the N-bomb thing. He had stopped saying that word on his podcast for years before that clip came out. Then you act like 2021 and COVID never happened. What taboo topic will he not breach? And the thing that has remained unaddressed, we are talking past each other. If you think this dialogue in any way referenced the N-bomb charade. Nah, big dog. Don't overthink this. It starts with simple things like talking about DMT every episode, to it barely being a life consideration for him anymore, to continuing to call Alex Jones a best friend, but never doing an episode with him since the first episode with the Spotify deal. There's plenty of examples, too many to list, and folks with critical thinking skills have an easy time of seeing them after consuming thousands of hours of a single person speaking over the course of a decade. Plus, how many times does Joe need to tell you verbatim on his show that if authorities approached him to see Area 51 or aliens or other secrets on the pretense that he says a particular message on the show or sells a particular message to his audience, he would do it in a heartbeat before? Would you not believe him? Wishing you good luck, and my engagement ends here. So I only bring that up because, dude, Ricky brings up a huge point. Like, Dr. Rhonda Patrick defined what Joe Rogan was. Like, she wasn't, she passed all the classes, she has all the licenses, she was not accredited by the community itself. She just was an outsider because she said truth contrary to what they were selling. And like Ricky said, every time she spoke, the flock came and listened. Everybody came to it. She has fallen. I brought up Alex Jones, and I probably shouldn't have said his full name again. Now we're just fully falling off on these other platforms. But it's like he has totally fallen off from what it was. I'm driving to work today. One thing that clicked with me is like, when's the last time? And again, I don't condone this. Is blah 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 whatever. But dude, when's the last time you've seen him just pull out like a box of 20 joints and they just all pass him around and he just kicks back, lets his guard down, and just has a genuine conversation? I haven't seen that. I have not seen that. The whole thing is a giant psyop. You can't have a human being tell you he's going to sell you out up the river to get all the secrets and then be surprised when he does it. Sorry. Totally side rant tangent. Maybe I'd like to get your thoughts on it if you guys listen to Joe. I'll listen to him here and there, only depending on the guest. But it used to be I'm listening to every episode, regardless of who he's talking to, because it's going to be awesome no matter what. Now I'm not listening to it for Joe anymore. If it's a great guest that I'm not going to see anywhere else, then yeah, I'm listening to it. Other than that, nothing's drawing me. I don't know, Ricky. As someone that kind of lived it, do you feel that might, or am I off base here?
I don't even listen to JRE that much anymore. Just one few in between. Like, it's not as what you said. Like, it doesn't. The random conversation that be popping up and you just go off on a tangent for that and bring it back. Like, or maybe it's just me just not finding it interesting. And I don't know. I can't lay my finger exactly on the post why, but I definitely understand what you're saying. Like, there was a shift in JRE.
Silent, were you ever a JRE listener?
Yeah, I used to listen to JRE all the time, but now that I'm, streaming a long hours, I don't really have much time to do it, unfortunately. And the only JRE I get is just clips when I do my 30 minutes of scrolling on Twitter every morning. So
is the just kind of unpacking that a little bit more. Do you not have, like, I'm assuming when you go to the gym, you're listening to music or something.
Music,
or usually, are you streaming for that too? Like,
yes, I usually stream my gyms, but when I don't stream my gyms and I'm going to the gym off stream, I usually always listen to music. I used to listen to podcasts when I would work out, but I found that my workouts were not as good the music definitely like gets me more hyped and more, especially for the more intense workouts. So it definitely made a difference in the performance for me, for sure.
Here, Brad Richardson. I've watched every episode of Joe Rogan Experience. It has changed, but there has to be a point in 2,500 episodes that you get stagnant. I mean, yeah, dude, I agree to that point. Also, I don't know. I got to imagine Brad Richardson. Please jump in the comments to answer this. I imagine Brad's aware of this guy, but there's a channel called Podcast Cringe who is incredible. Like, he's got almost a bigger following at this point than the podcasts themselves, but he makes these incredible episodes like criticizing the major comedian podcasts. And that's one of the things that he was criticizing him, Joe Rogan, this week. He's like, he's also out of touch. Like, he thinks he's totally plugged in. The dude is a boomer on the internet. He continues to like, oh my God, Brad Richardson hasn't caught it. The king of the internet hasn't caught this yet. Brad, I'm telling you, you're going to love it. You're going to be like, oh my God, we put you on. We put you on to some good shit. It's an awesome show. Especially because something that I think Brad might be able to relate to is I didn't just watch all of Joe Rogan's episodes. I watched almost all of Two Bears, One Cave, Theo Vaughn, Fighter and the Kid. I mean, this guy takes on the whole comedy podcast syndicate, and it's great shows. But back to Joe, here's a guy that like he's speaking to the biggest audience in the world, and he's talking about life and facts, and he's getting duped by internet memes. And like Jamie will be like, no, I don't think that's true. And then it's like, dude, this has become you. Like, what we didn't realize, remember the games we would play on the show of are you out of touch yet, or are you old yet? Like, the reality to that game is seeing how fast like the trends will leave you behind, and it's only going to get faster. So it's becoming more and more of an exercise to stay plugged in and in the know. And Joe Rogan's a billionaire. Like, he doesn't need to be plugged into what's cool on TikTok and what no cap means. Like, it doesn't matter to him. He's still a billionaire. So now you've got these super out of touch people. So that's how it gets stagnant, is you got a dude that like, he's doing it for a job, whereas before it literally was to get a box of free joints from this sponsor and have fun with my friends. And guess what? When you're having fun with your friends, you tend to let your guard down, which another thing to get excited about with me and Silent Destroyer's podcast episode that's going to come out in 3 weeks is the thing that's going to blow up like wildfire. That's the hot ticket right now, is being genuine, real, honest. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why you're watching JRE fade off into the ethos, because he'll always stay relevant, at least for a little while, because it's so damn big. It'll take that much longer for it to deplete, but it doesn't deny it's depleting. I mean, he didn't hold that throne number one that long until a hot blonde who left Barstool took it away from him. And then a Kelsey's wife came and took it away from him. And then it's like, dude, these chicks are more relevant than you. You're not even funny to us. Like, I know I'm ranting, but I think closing it out with Brad Richardson is a good.
I like Hawk to a Girl more than I like Joe Rogan.
I'm going to close with Brad Richardson and not Doug. I've watched them all for real. Two Bears, Impulsive, Theo, Sean Ryan. And he's an old podcast nerd interested in every perspective. I think this is the only way to consume these shows anymore. I mean, I used to watch every single Joe Rogan, and then I'd catch these other shows here and there. Now it's, well, I'm going to catch a couple, like, nothing's more exciting than you log in and I saw, Duncan Trussell had somebody that I really enjoy. You're like, all right, well, I've never really seen Duncan's show, but I'll click into this one. That's how it's going to become. Yeah, dude, here's what I learned, Ricky. Doug went drinking before this, so that he be tripping. He's off the rails, and we don't even have the professionalism of a studio to ground his ass in staying focused. Nope. See, you heard it here first. Doug found my moonshine. I don't know. Can I get you guys' thoughts on the Joe Rogan ranting? And then I'll bring us back to receipt paper. Silent.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, just like what Brad said, there's so many episodes that the quality will just have to deteriorate. Like, there's only so much time you could just kick back and talk it with your friends, and there's only so many guests that are like interesting and whatnot. I think him attempting the whole let me bring on YouTubers, like when he bought MKBHD, when he bought Mr. Beast, that was a nice like breath of fresh air, and I think he should do more of that. I think that will maybe bring out more like genuine, authentic podcasts, because a lot of these YouTubers have their audiences because, you know, and they've had them for like a decade or more in some cases, because they're actual genuine, cool people, and they're not like assholes or shitty people on screen or off screen. And I think he needs to do more of that. But in terms of like, has the podcast changed? Well, yeah, of course, obviously, right? Like Joe Rogan's clearly like gotten more comfortable. He's a billionaire now. Like he can do anything he wants, and he could just make a same repetitive podcast, and it doesn't matter because he's already secured his bag. So
let me ask you this. I got to flip your point back at you just a little bit. If I do like your advice, you know, I think getting into the younger crowd, getting into where the internet is moving to, talking to these streaming personalities, these people that are on all the time to the point where they can't really be fake. Well, they're going to force you to be a little bit more guards down and real as well. It'll probably also make the dialogue a bit more casual, and you're not going to be talking about, you know, Middle Eastern relations. You're going to be able to talk about, you know, what the kids are listening to music wise. I don't know. But flipping it back to you, the point that you did make was, you know, after you do this for so long, 2,500 episodes, about 3 hours a piece, dude, Silent, when you're doing 10, 11, 12-hour streams a day, you're going to exceed him significantly quicker. And I understand that it's a different thing, right? You're not on and talking like you're not talking in the same fashion, and you get a lot more ideas and dialogue fed to you just through conversation with the chat. But if the logic is, if you do something for so long and it goes on for so long that it's inevitably going to deteriorate, how does that same logic not apply to streamers?
Well, streamers have the world as their playfield, right? Joe Rogan can only do so many podcasts in so many studios, whereas I have every single country in the world that is letting in tourists, right? So just doing that by itself will take me way longer time to do and accomplish than the entire existence of the JRE. So like it'll take me at least 10, 20 years to visit every single country and stay there for like a week or two, right? That'll probably take me at least 10 years. And I think if I have a career for 10 years, I would be extremely happy if I last that long. Being able to just travel the world and do IRL streams for 10 years, every single day for 10 years, that would be a tremendous career. I'll be very okay with that. But at the same time, too, right? That's why you see streaming in itself is also going through that current like renaissance, to where it's going away from just people playing video games and people reacting to clips to, oh, now we're traveling the world and we're seeing with our actual eyes and we're showing you raw, uncut, and unfiltered how it is to travel the world. And this is why I prefer to watch an IRL stream of someone in a country live than something that's on YouTube that's been cut, polished, edited, and make it to seem like it's a certain place when it's actually, in reality, it's not.
Yeah, dude, I'm not in my living room. I am in Dubai.
Yeah. Right, that's what I mean. And the thing is, like with Joe Rogan, like I think that's a great idea. Joe Rogan, Jamie, if you guys are listening, take the podcast on the road. That'll be fun, right? Imagine they do a live podcast with a cool guest on a stage somewhere and sell some tickets.
Brother,
that'd be great.
You know what? Selling out stadiums and stuff, but that's why Kill Tony will always live and Joe Rogan won't. because you have
100%.
the infinity of improvisation. You're working with the audience.
It's spicy. It's new
Joe
every
Rogan,
time.
he's not humble enough to like take the I don't need to go anywhere. Like you come to me.
You come to me.
He's not humble enough to do that, to make that step. But even then, he doesn't have a show type that would even consider audience involvement, which means it's just going to be the same drying raisin of a dialogue, just in a different venue.
Yeah.
But keeping it grounded in the poison of receipts. Yeah, because Ricky brought up Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and it's like, yeah, how crazy is it that Dr. Rhonda Patrick was like a crowning jewel of that show? Doesn't even exist to the guy anymore. And that goes along with the A. Jones that I was talking about, and just like everything that he stood true that made it what it was. Like, I will never forget driving to Sprint, selling cell phones in between college and law school, and every time he'd be talking about DMT. And my buddy Will, who does the show with us, and our Sunday show, he would send me memes all the time growing up of the Joe Rogan and DMT stuff. Like, that's what he was known for.
I never actually. I remember old school Joe Rogan was more fun to hear people talk about, or hear clips, or watch clips. Like now, it's just. I feel like I don't.
It's dry.
Really see much Joe Rogan stuff or hear.
If anything, his only involvement is.
Oh, we can't hear Doug, by the way.
Yeah, damn, Doug, we lost you. The only problem is that he only gets involved in political controversy anymore. You don't see him like just have a fun clip that goes viral because of its content. It's always like he's fighting CNN on vaccines, and it's like, yeah, okay, cool. We stood by you until you go back on everything you stand on. And then it's like, you only get that perspective with the perspective of time.
When you're the 1%, you have a different perspective.
I had to see you say one thing and then have your entire opinion evolve into another before I'm like, I see the game we're playing here. You're not genuine. But thanks, Doug, for getting us back to Joe Rogan as I transition us back to the poison of receipts. So the poison of receipts, bad for you. And I think the major takeaway needs to be avoid touching them at all costs, especially when it's right after being printed, which guess what? Newsflash, that's every time you're going to be handed a receipt. Like, you're never getting a receipt after it's just cooled and cooked for 5-6 minutes. You're getting it fresh off the press and right into your veins. So let me flip it to the Rethink Tank's Dr. Rhonda Patrick. Ricky, what are your closing thoughts on a receipt paper? Even though I guess you already knew this whole damn thing. And if you want to throw in some opinions of Joe Rogan, feel free.
Bro, I ain't believing when the dude told me at first, bro. And then he was dedicated. Like, he would grab his shirt and grab the receipt. He will use other objects just not to touch it. And then I saw Dr. Rodney Patrick said it. I was like, okay, yeah, it's over with. Good. Like, it's not hard to avoid. So I was like, fuck it. I got nothing to lose, even if it's true or not. You say lower testosterone, bro? I got you, bro. I'm rocking with you.
I got you. Silent, what are your rapping thoughts?
I wonder if the receipt is cold. So if you touch it after it's been printed for 5-10 minutes, does that still affect you? I wonder, because me personally, like, the receipts thing doesn't affect me because I just use the tab on my phone for everything, and my receipt is I just look at the history on my card online through the banking app, and that's my receipt. And by the way, most places nowadays, if you pay with a card, if you have an issue or there's a warranty like issue or whatever, all you need to do, you don't even need to bring a receipt anymore. You just insert the same card that you paid with, or even with the same phone through Apple Pay or through Google Pay.
That's usually just credit cards. Like, credit cards have more protection than a debit card or anything. So, like, even if you have a debit card on your phone, your bank doesn't give you the same protection that a credit card's going to give you.
Well, yeah, that's a whole other discussion. But
so that's why if you're using a debit card, maybe you do still want a receipt, and that's where I think this really gets people.
You should not be using a debit card.
Right. First of all,
really the whole point you just made.
You should never be using a debit card ever, because not only does that not protect you, also if someone skims your debit card, the bank doesn't protect you like a credit card does.
Nope.
So be very careful with your use of a debit card, because if you're going to use a card, it might as well be a credit card or even an Amex, like a charge card is fine too.
Because I hate my bank. I have to have a certain number of transactions, and that's why I have to use a debit card now and then. But that's me. But I hate my bank.
Yeah. Look into credit cards, seriously. Like, especially if you travel a lot or if you eat out a lot, there's credit cards that can give you like up to 5% cash back too. But that's a whole different topic. The main point I was trying to make is, if you pay with a credit card, you don't need to deal with receipts ever. Even when you have something that you want to get refunded, all you got to do is you get your credit card and you just put it back in the machine and they'll refund you your money. You don't even need to show a receipt anymore in most places.
So I have a like 6-pound wiener dog. So you can imagine like how small her kennel is.
Mm.
As you were wrapping up your thought, I was trying to think if I could fit Doug in it. Just to lock him away for the rest of the episode.
I think I'm bigger than your dog.
But Doug, if you want something bad enough, you can make it happen. You're getting me there. My wrapping thought is, I don't know if Doug will fit, but I'm this close to friggin' trying. You know, after an incredibly universe testing day, this is a perfect topic to close our episode out with. So I came across this clip from the Shannon Sharp podcast. Silent seemed to have known of this guy. I'm assuming then because of that, Ricky's probably going to have to know who it is too. But this influential...
Bro, hold on, time out. Yeah. You don't know David Banner?
I did not know who David Banner was.
Stunning like a habit. Good in the air. Stunning like a habit. That's David Banner, bro.
See, I didn't know that. Nope. And I feel like if I would have gone to like Spotify before this, there'd be a few that I'd recognize. But I definitely, like, you could say Drake with my eyes closed and I'm picturing a face. I wouldn't have known the face who was singing any of those songs. But I've become a fan. I'm a fan because first exposure to this person by name, and I think of him now as a philosopher. This is truly a great perspective, especially when, we don't really walk a religious path on this show at all. Especially because all of us are coming from different corners and different perspectives. But even more so, there does seem to be a through line, which is like the war of good and evil. And I tend to get fixated in those religious lines, looking at the devil. There's so much occult shit in our society anymore that you get hyper fixated on this devil's influence. It's embedded in Hollywood. However, there's a new perspective, and it's that the devil is not real. And it's that you are the devil. Absolutely brilliant.
Even the devil. Man, devil, you the devil. The reason why they give you something exterior, so you'll never fix you. If you keep blaming on the devil, you won't fix your black ass. You the problem. Go fix you. If you didn't make the team, and the devil didn't do it, you didn't do your reps. You didn't stay in the gym. That ain't the devil, that's you. But they tell you the devil so you will never fix the devil in your black ass. And if you really believe in God and think that God is omnipotent, how you put anything next to God? Mm-hmm. If God created the devil, you shouldn't even put the devil in the same conversation.
That's the biggest point there at the end. But like I said, with everything going wrong, right? I got all the equipment here, but we can't use different camera angles because I forgot one damn cord. I could have said it was the devil, but it was my black ass the whole time. I almost quit on the day. I was this close to no show today, but I persevered. Dude, when I tell you insanity was this close to snapping. But guess what? How bad do you want it? Like if you didn't make the team, it's because you didn't get the reps. Loved that point. And bringing it back to this piece at the end, just because I loved it so much.
God and think that God is omnipotent. How you put anything next to God? If God created the devil, you shouldn't even put the devil in the same conversation.
I don't know. To me, that's like quite an epiphany. Like, it's kind of just like a basic logic statement. If God created the devil, then why are we even putting them in the same dialogue? Yes, it will require a war of this war of good and evil, but we tell ourselves we know how it ends. It ends with, good always wins. But logically, if you follow that logic statement, it's an irrefutable fact. Like, it being the all-knowing, all-creating, if it created the problem, it can end the problem. It just will take the effort of doing so. With that being floods that drown Texas, fires that burn out California, and the AI brings about the Antichrist. That war will happen, but it doesn't mean we're not going to win. I don't know. That's my little diatribe. But I want to get your thoughts on the philosopher that is David Banner. Let's start with Ricky. Ricky, what do you think of this perspective of the devil isn't real, you're the devil?
I ain't no damn devil, all right? I mean, I don't blame
rebuke it. I rebuke it in the
I
name
don't
of
blame
Jesus.
God for stuff going bad. I blame myself for making bad decisions. Like, because we have free will. We have the choice to go left or go right. So I think I'm more when stuff is going good than even bring up his name when stuff is going bad. So I don't really focus on devil. I don't have devil in my vocabulary. I don't focus on like negativity. Like my baby, like she'll get up, she'll cough, like water stuck right here. She'll be like, the devil tried to take me out. I'm like, what the fuck? It wasn't the devil. It's just, it's just water stuck in your throat. Like, maybe you should have slowed down drinking. God's giving you a sign to slow your ass down. Shit like that. I don't
know, Silent, what do you think?
I think the point he's trying to make is that you need to take accountability of your actions. If you don't reach your goals, you need to take responsibility. And the reason for that is because of you. Because once you start to realize that you are responsible for your life and stop blaming external forces like the devil, like the economy, like who the president is, like where you live, like what city you're in, like what country you're in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you then will start to realize that you are in control of your own destiny in a lot of more ways than you think. And if you focus on what you can control and execute well on those factors versus the factors that you cannot control, that's when you start to realize that channeling your energy towards things that you actually can control is what will lead you to the path that you want to reach, versus channeling your energy on things like that you can control, like the devil or the weather or where you're born or who the president is or whatever. Is just a waste of time and energy. No. And I think that's the greater point that he was trying to get at, especially when he made the reference of, we didn't win because you didn't get the reps in the gym. And he's probably right, because that guy that beat you in the court, he probably done twice the reps you did. That's probably why he was able to run more. He probably didn't smoke that blunt, didn't drink that half a bottle of Hennessy 2 days ago or last night when he partied, before the game. That's probably why he was able to outrun you, and you were tired after the second quarter.
See, I don't know. There's some truth to that, but
that's factual. I say, and some people are born really talented.
See, Han, sorry, not to cut you off, Ricky, but you might have some truth there, Silent. However, if Doug and Ricky both had a bottle of Hennessy each and both smoked a blunt each, Ricky could still outrun the Chinese cop ball. And Doug is down for the count.
Oh, I'm calling that web.
Where does God play in and training? And if you didn't have the Hennessy,
me and Ricky could be the same amount of everything. He's gonna outrun whatever's gonna catch me.
And Doug's gonna
that was going to be my point, Alex. Some people are more gifted than other people. So
that's true.
That's just part of the reality, part of the world we live in, and you can't play the blame game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't be blaming exterior factors for everything. Maybe you need to come out of the environment. Maybe you need to switch how you think of stuff, switch a perspective, how you go attack this. So, you know what I mean? Like, it ain't always the devil. It's like, bro, the devil is only real if you make it. Like, literally, like, if you don't even have it in your world, have it in your vocabulary, have it in your mind, you just have the perspectives like, okay, this is a lesson, learn today, this is da-da-da-da, this is my mistake, there ain't nobody else, I had a choice, I could have made this turn down there. Like, anytime I got pulled over, I should have like, shit, I should have went this way tonight. I'll say, oh, God, why me? Like, you know what I mean?
Right. But at the same time, it's you made those decisions. It kind of determinism. Everything, every decision you made, every thought, every action led to this point. So, you know, in many ways, this was the inevitable stream of dominoes. I'm kind of conflicted because clearly we would all agree the message, the takeaway here is accountability. You know, David Banner's pushing for accountability. Everything Ricky just said is there's an explanation to everything, and you're taking the lazy route. The lazy route being just throwing it on the omniscient, oh, it's the devil. No, brother, it's, you know, you did drink before you drove, and yeah, maybe you shouldn't have gone down that street and you wouldn't have gotten caught, but you made the decisions to put you there. A lot of this is how many steps down the line are you willing to take to get to the true source of accountability? You know, sometimes we want to fall short of it leading back to, all right, this was my fault. Or we go past it and yeah, it was my fault, but really it was my mom's fault. You know, she hit me. Okay, well, it was something also that I talk about plenty on the podcast, but also within our live shows is, yeah, we've all, you know, some people have had better childhoods than others, but at some point you become an autonomous, independent figure that should be held responsible. Like, yeah, you've got these scars from your mom, but at what point, or your dad or whatever, but your uncle, you know, birthdays at Aunt Susie's were crazy, but like at some point you have to be held accountable. Like at some point it's, well, like, yeah, but you were 8 and now you're 42. Mm-hmm. You don't get to keep abusing people.
It's true. At the end of the day, it is really down to you to break the chains, right, of whatever it is that you suffered from your past. And you have to disconnect your future from your past and even your present from your past, too, to get to the future, really. That's the most important thing.
Well, you know, as I thrown all this craziness at Ricky, I got to ask, Ricky, what do you think first? Have you looked at David Banner in the past as a philosopher like this, but also, you know, I guess enlighten me more about this figure because I've never heard of this guy, and Silent did already.
Bro, I don't know about David Banner other than stunning is a habit. Chevrolet door. Have you ever stood stunning like me? That's the only time I know of David Banner being a rapper, bro. I haven't heard of David Banner since. It's like Young Dro or Young Jock. Like it's that era. Like I haven't heard of Lean on it. Like Shoulder Lean. I haven't heard of them. Like,
man, I haven't heard of that.
So I don't know. He's a philosopher in the rap game when he's spitting the bars. I Well, it was crazy. It was crazy summer at Aunt Susie's, bro. Like, that's crazy.
Hey, we've all got our past. That being said, don't ask my Aunt Susie where that Freudian slip came from. No, I would like to present one last piece of philosophical dialogue, and then we'll get into our wrapping thoughts. But, you know, it's clear that our society lacks this accountability. And because of that, it faces deep systemic issues that can erode trust, fuel corruption, and ultimately destabilize institutions. So I want to present some direct constructive advice to address and begin correcting that kind of problem. First, you want to start with transparency. Accountability can exist without visibility. Make decisions, actions, and outcomes public, especially in government, law enforcement, corporate leadership, and public services. Folks, something I will die saying until I'm blue in the face. Vote with your views, vote with your dollars. This also includes open budgets and spending reports, public access to meeting minutes and policies, whistleblower protections, and demand it when they fall short of delivering on those promises. We also want to establish consequences. Accountability isn't just about acknowledgement. It requires consequences. A culture of impunity destroys morale and ethics. Ensure laws are enforced evenly, regardless of status or wealth. Audit institutions and act on findings. Brother, I still will die on the hill that these people with the First Amendment audits walking around with cameras, they are doing God's work. Make disciplinary actions public when appropriate. We also want to create independent oversight. Internal monitoring often fails due to bias or conflict interest. Independent watchdogs, auditors, and you can provide real oversight. These bodies should be legally protected from interference. Fund them adequately, and they become symbolic. You want to educate and empower citizens. A passive society breeds unaccountability or unaccountable leadership. Civic education and media literacy must be strengthened so people can understand how systems work, identify corruption and malpractice, and know how and where to report these issues. We also want to model accountability in small systems. Change often starts in microcultures. If families, schools, companies, and local governments model accountability, that culture can scale up. Leaders must model this visibly, encourage honest feedback loops, and then stand by them. We also want to redesign incentive structures. Many institutions reward success without regarding for ethics. Realign incentives to reward integrity, not just results. Tie promotions in businesses and bonuses and within businesses to ethical behavior. Penalize cover-ups and data manipulation, not just the failures. We also need to be aware of these warning signs of a society in trouble. Frequent scandals without consequences will become a common symptom. They'll blame shift and finger point within this culture. There's going to be a fear of speaking out, and we're currently experiencing that, and it all results in a collapse of trust in institutions. If these are present, urgent reform is needed before the damage becomes irreversible. One of the things that I'd be more curious about is how we apply this on a more personal level, right? Because this is more on a macro societal level, but something else that you need to keep in mind is how you can hold yourself more accountable. So one thing we also need to be reminded of is how you need to own your mistakes without excuses. When you mess up, we all do, admit it clearly and take responsibility. Say, that was my fault. I should have done X. Avoid, I only did it because X, or because you did this, or that wouldn't have happened if. Accountability isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest when you're not. And honesty is within. You don't need to convince other people that you're honest. You know when you're being dishonest. So be honest with yourself. You need to follow through on what you say. Keep your promises, even the small ones. If you commit to something, treat it seriously. If you can't follow through, communicate early and take ownership. People build trust with those who are dependable. Communicate, be honest, be transparent. We also want to ask for feedback regularly. Invite honest opinions about how you're doing from friends, family, coworkers. Don't get defensive. Listen first, even if it stings. Use it as fuel for growth, not self-blame. A very terrible habit of human nature is to guard our ignorances, defend our positions. We get convicted. We are defined by our opinions. So when people, attack our opinions or attack our character, we take them personally. Don't transcend those very human emotions. You want to hold others accountable kindly. You don't have to be confrontational to speak up. Hey, I noticed this happened. Can we talk about it? Hey, you said you'd do X and it didn't happen. Is everything okay? Be consistent. If you let things slide out of fear or awkwardness, you're enabling the very culture you want to fix. We also need to build a system, not just willpower. Accountability improves when you build it into your habits. Use reminders, checklists, and deadlines. Share goals with a friend or a mentor who will check in with you. You don't have to do it all alone. Community strengthens personal accountability. We also want to apologize and repair. If you've hurt someone or made a bad call, apologize sincerely. Ask what you can do to make it right, and then actually do it. Words without action is not accountability. And finally, be patient with yourself, but not complacent. Accountability isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about being real with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Growth takes time and setbacks happen, but they're only failure if you stop being honest. So if individuals commit to this kind of mindset, it ripples outward. Families, friend groups, teams, and communities built on accountability are stronger, more trusting, and more resilient. And with these symptoms being so clearly a fabric of our common society right now, these types of habits are calling for necessity to be integrated into your daily life and your daily routine. So I want to flip it to the Pickle Gallery. Silent, do you have any wrapping thoughts for us?
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about before, the best thing you can do as an individual is to take accountability and responsibility for all your actions and realize and recognize that actions have consequences. Every single step that you make each and every day can compound into something great if you channel your energy in the right direction. You just have to remind yourself of that every single day.
Love that. Love that. Ricky, do you have any wrapping thoughts?
Keep going.
That's all you got for us?
Like, I'm not good like you
What's
guys.
your rapid
Man.
thoughts
Like,
on
you guys,
the devil
you
is
guys
you?
nailed it, bro. Like, I'm not good. Like, I ain't great with the words like that. So, but like, hey, life is not fair. You just gotta keep going. Literally, like, it's not fair. Some cards that sometimes the hands you're dealt ain't right, but there's always a way out of any situation.
Hey, I appreciate that.
Thanks.
As far as wrapping thoughts go, I think it's pretty clear, not to get redundant and repetitive. The whole dialogue revolves around accountability, where you are your own enemy if you allow yourself to be. You could be your own superhero, but you can also be your own enemy. And it really all comes down to what you hold yourself to. I think that was kind of the takeaway I got from the closing points I presented there, which are, if you become complacent and you allow your standard to slip, that's what you're going to become. And then it kind of also parallels Jordan Peterson's, rules of life. Clean your room. Like, if your room isn't clean, you're not going to change the world. So it's one of those, get yourself in line and straight and narrowed before you even try to fix things outside of it. If you can't get yourself figured out, how are you going to get other things figured out? So kind of keeping within the same theme of that, like, everything that's happening in your life that you project on the devil, or all of these issues surrounding your religious beliefs, or really just the way you view the problems within your society, follow the route. And unfortunately, you're going to get to a point where it's like, oh man, it all leads back to me. And it's because I allowed this this person to be in my life too long. Like, yeah, they were the aggressor. Yeah, they stole your life savings, but you had all these warning signs and you continue to let them, you let it slip, you let it slip, you let it slip. When you should have cut these people out of your life, they remained. You neglected going to the gym this day, that day, that day, that day, that day, that day. Yeah, now you do have heart problems. Like, it's one of these, this isn't the whole world crashed down on you. It is, you neglected every warning sign that led you to this point. And the fact that you fail to see your involvement in this, why you're never going to fix the problem. You're going to try to put out the fire without actually going to the embers. You're going everywhere else but where the source of the problem is. So it's one of those, I really loved coming across this clip, because I also, on a different train of thought that we kind of avoided, as somebody that I do think the elites and powers that be believe in the devil, whether, us in this dialogue do or don't, I do think the powers that be are trying to siphon powerful energy from an evil entity. And it's also an interesting concept to think they could commit their entire existence to something that's feeding them, nominal power right now, but also, relying on the fact that the grand power is what created the devil to begin with. Seems like it's not quite the enemy we thought it was. Closing that out, Doug, do you have any wrapping thoughts on our fun little dialogue here?
Just had completely forgotten about this person until this topic. I got to be honest. I had to Google him. I go, oh, yeah, him.
I didn't even remember him.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you.
Honest to God, the first part of this topic, I'm going, who the hell is this guy again? So that's my rapid thought is I forgot all about this guy.
Hey, at science fiction. Let me close out today's episode. I want to thank the Pickle Gallery for joining us. Silent Destroyer, tell the folks where they can see you.
Kick.com/Silent Destroyer, live every single day.
You want to be sure to go catch out Silent Destroyer because as we're talking about all this fun stuff, he was just outside the courthouse as P. Diddy was released. We got Brad Richardson, the greatest moderator in the game, holding up the episode in the chat, and he put together an awesome clip of Silent's interaction in New York. Getting the breaking news, and it's been awesome. So be sure not to miss it. And Silent and I have a pretty awesome podcast episode coming out here in a couple of weeks to look forward to. But Ricky, kicking it over to you now. Tell the folks where they can find you.
Hey, make sure y'all go follow Silent, man. It's really an adventure over there. But just another day TV anywhere and everywhere. We're outside.
Hey, Ricky's going to have some awesome vlogs, too. I'm expecting when he comes up to the Think Tank golf outing that he's going to be having a vlog for you, I'm hoping.
But I'll be vlogging my way there, I ain't said it. Maybe I'll be live stream. Maybe I'll consult Silent real quick. I don't know yet.
Ooh.
But, yeah, I most than likely be vlogging for sure.
I love hearing that.
I do, too. Yeah, hell yeah. With that being said, guys, as you can see, we're not in the studio. Oh, look at Will, new studio. Hey, thanks for joining us, home. So as you can see, we're not in the studio. So we're not closing today's episode out with the Wheel of Topics. That will be next week. A fun thing that we've been kind of milling out lately is viewer submission videos. We've had a bunch of viewer submissions on the Neuro Gym at our website, www.rethinktankpodcast.com. There's a forum page where folks have been dropping ideas for topics, games, dares, segments they'd like to see us close the episode out with, and they've been dropping them over at the Neuro Gym. We've had a lot of great video submissions. I cannot wait to be closing out next week's episode with it. Tragedy hits where we don't have internet, and like I said, nothing stops us. So please do us that favor and head on over, become a member. It's totally free, and it only enhances our ability to keep you as a part of the dialogue, which is the whole purpose of the live show to begin with. Getting back to that, if we made you laugh, if we made you think, the best thing you could do to support the show is hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss us moving forward. And if you liked it, that means someone else will too. So the best you could do to support this show, we're just doing it all for fun. The best thing you could do is take that link and spread it around because other people would enjoy it just as much. And it really helps out what we're doing here. So as I had indicated, we've got all these different shows. We do our Rethink Actions show on Sundays, and for our summer series we have been enjoying hilarious AI videos. Last week, Harry Potter got explicit, but we've been doing Star Wars, we had Marvel, DC Comics. This next week is the Grand Poobah. It's not the finale, but I think it's the highest icon of AI video comedy. We're going to be jumping down the Bigfoot rabbit hole, and we're going to have a lot of fun Bigfoot videos. So be sure to join us this Sunday where we get a little break from the social dialogue and the politics and just kick back and have some laughs with us, have a cup of coffee, and wake up and start your day. That's on our Rethink Actions channel. We've got the podcast is back, the Rethink Tank podcast, not live. Every Thursday morning, we'll have a new episode. This week, we weren't able to get him to join us. I might try to swindle him into joining us next week, but it's with the Cruel Philosopher, who's one of my favorite people to talk to. And that will be coming out this Thursday, but we will have a new episode coming out every Thursday for the next couple months. You could find all these different shows, all these different platforms in one central place. And again, that's at our website at www.rethinktakepodcast.com. Again, where you can find the Neuro Gym, where we'd like you to become a member and get involved. And again, make yourself comfortable. Find all the fun stuff we have on our website. But otherwise, guys, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.